Jesus freak here. So, I'm attempting to cut together about 40 minutes of footage I took from downtown Buffalo today, which is about a third of the rally. Now, I'm starting to see some reactions from outside as to, opinions about what's going on. And it's like, oh, look at those George Soros funded demon rat protester babies spitting out their pacifiers because they lost the election last year. As if having legitimate authority guarantees that the legitimate authority will be used legitimately. You see, autogolpes are nothing new. The term is new. It comes from Spanish golpe de estado, which is the equivalent of coup d'etat. But as it happens, it's not unusual for someone to legitimately acquire authority and then to misuse it more and more and more, and finally just dispense with the illusion that they're trying to maintain any sense of legitimacy. This happens in a lot of countries. Yes, it happened in Germany in the 30s. We're not exactly of a mindset where it's likely to go all the way here. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Nothing's impossible. But it's just not the American mentality. But you see, there's one side that's been trying to play more or less by the rules for the last 30 years, while the other side's been basically giving them the finger and doing whatever they can to maintain the power they have. As it happens, modern Russia is an example of a company that's had two autogolpes. An autogolpe with, I'm looking up on Wikipedia here, Yeltsin back in 93, and then Putin autogolped back in 2020. Maduro autogolped in Venezuela back in 2017. Fujimori in Peru gained power through an autogolpe. I think we had an attempt, last December there was an attempt at an Autogolpe in South Korea, which was thwarted. There was an attempted Autogolpe in Brazil with Bolsonaro. There's Autogolpes underway in Israel and Turkey. You know, they're not exactly unusual. It's very common when you have someone who's corrupt get into power. They'll try to bend or break the rules to keep it. So just because someone got into power legitimately doesn't mean their power is entirely legitimate. The idea behind No Kings was that, from my understanding, since, I am an outsider for the most part, it's people trying to do whatever they can, and protesting's just part of it, but trying to do what we can to keep an Autogolpe from succeeding. Now, for me, this has additional meaning. Because we're not just talking about the opposition party. For one, I'm not a member of the Democratic Party, so it's not Republican versus Democrat here for me. But it's more than that here. You see, I've been watching forms of what we currently call the New Apostolic Reformation for at least the last 20 years. And I've been watching with horror. Because if there's one thing I've understood over the past almost 2,000 years that the church has existed, when the church gains the reins of power, it usually turns them on other Christians. Because the church whatever church gains power has to assert itself as the one true Christianity. And when that Christianity is an aberrant form of Christianity, you see, New Apostolic Reformation uses Christianity as a bunch of symbols. A lot of them teach little God's doctrine, which is literally the first heresy in Eden. Ye shall be as gods. A lot of them make Satan significantly more powerful than God. They talk about us putting God in a box. They pretty much put him in a genie lamp. And they're constantly in pursuit of greater political power. political power hurts the church. We thrive best the less political power we have. And that's ironic, because you'd think you have more power, you'd have more influence. You have more power, you're more ripe for corruption. And ask Martin Luther, ask John Wycliffe, ask William Tyndale, ask Jan Hus. If the church authorities running the government worked out very well for them, being devout Christians. Jesus freak out.